I'm Drew Breezy, and this is the Comm Center, the show that dissects 911 calls, emergency response video, and audio by two guys who have done both jobs. Coming up, Jon is going to play a round of Stump Drew with a call from Lansing, Michigan that apparently reaffirms the old saying, don't play with guns. Jon is also going to interview someone he describes as, quote, one of the world's sexiest heroes, end quote. And are the dead communicating with us from beyond their graves or from other worlds? All that and what it means for your weekend on the Comm Center.
City council members have announced their plans to disband the Minneapolis Police Department.
We're calling for defunding the police.
Shootings in New York City have more than doubled this year.
I love that song. Good morning, everyone, unless, of course, it's nighttime, in which case, good night. This is Comm Center with Drew Breezy. It's a TV show on the internet about two best friends who are called by a small-town sheriff to investigate a filthy drifter named Dr. Pedro Afterthought, who has created a working replica of an alternate 1978 in which sweeping reforms to U.S. copyright law never took effect in the sheriff's basement. I'm Jon. I'm an active 911 dispatcher in the field. I'm joined, as always, by Lieutenant Andrew Baxter, formerly of the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. Drew is retired, and he's getting ready to set up his own new sheriff's office, in which he is the sheriff. We're working on that this summer. Drew, how have you been? How are you doing, bud?
Good. We're still laying the foundation. We got plumbing going in. We're going to rough in by Tuesday, hopefully, which in contractor world means we're going to rough in by February.
Very exciting. I can't wait to see your sweeping reforms.
I truly can't wait to try to tame some of your excitement. I mean, you seem so excited about it.
You will be apparently the sheriff of the earth if you think that you're also the sheriff of me from Florida. Drew, last week was a really heavy episode. We're gonna swing hard in the other direction today. I was searching the internet for positive, uplifting 911 dispatcher stories, and I found some. Guess what? Some 911 dispatchers have delivered babies, and we helped some toddlers do their math homework. All the good stuff that is always happening all the time continues to happen. And I hate to say that it's not a big deal, but it's we're trying to focus on what's really going on in the communications world and the stuff that is important. And it's hard because a lot of the stuff that we do every day just makes the news because it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So digging deeper, as I often do, I spend hours and hours every week researching what's going on in this world, this show.
The internet, yeah.
Combing, deep beach combing. And sure enough, everything I could find that's interesting to talk about is fucking terrible, beyond comparison. Stuff that makes you cry, even to read a headline. A common search that I'll do is 911 audio and body cam, because that's what suits our media needs. And sure enough, down in Oklahoma, we have a student beaten to death. We have 911 audio and we have body cam and school footage from that. We'll probably tackle that at some point just because it's something that matters to the modern world. But last week was so heavy, I just wanted to break far away from that. So you mentioned at the start of the show that I was going to interview who I view as the world's sexiest hero.
Yeah, that's all you told me.
It's we're gonna bring him on the show now. Surprise, it's you, Drew. Why is it you? Well, I'm gonna tell you what, we try to get people on this show, and I'm gonna let the audience in on a small secret right now. As some of you know, I do many shows, and I hate having guests on. You know why? Because I have to be super polite with them and various other things, and find a way to be interesting but not creepy and weird, but also professional, but somehow also my true self. And it's just hard to do. But I tell you what, if I was doing a show and I wanted to bring on someone to interview, it would be a 30-year detective, police officer, communications comms director. It's if you weren't the host of the show, you'd be the perfect guest. I don't know if you realize that.
Well, maybe I'll just come. Maybe I'll just do continual guest appearance.
You should. From here on out, you should just be a guest.
And tonight's guest.
You know what's interesting, Drew? I've had many dreams about what I would do if you died, particularly when you went on that cruise last year.
Yes.
And I decided that I would continue the show and I would continue to call it the Comm Center with Drew Breezy in your honor. Just so
God
you know.
bless you. Yeah.
So there's a full succession plan in place. Just so
Hey,
you know.
hey, thank you. In case I die, that's great news. So let's talk about for a second what like I don't know if you know this or not, but Houdini had a code word because he spent though he was a magician / illusionist or whatever, he spent most of his career debunking magicians and illusionists because he was angry because he wanted to contact his mother. You know, he wanted to have one last word with his conversation with his mom, who is dead, right? So he went to a medium and they tricked him into believing that, it was, he was talking to his mom and he wasn't really. So what he did was he went on this crusade as Harry Houdini to expose all these fraudulent mediums, to include opening up his own medium shop, I guess they called them. I don't know what they call them, psychic dens. And
my grandfather had a psychic den, but his was just a sort of a carriage that was drawn by horses. And he had a mirror that was behind a curtain, and you would have to pay $2 for him to draw back the curtain, and it was sort of a portal into the other world. But
yeah, that was I saw him at the World's Fair in 1986.
He also sold ice cream that had a lot of artichoke in it, and he would also give you the correct time if you gave him 2 bits.
Into his top hat, I'm assuming, and his spats.
It was really more of a derby.
It was a derby.
I think you underestimate or radically overestimate how old my grandfather was.
So, yeah, right. I'm sure he was probably in his 30s. So he probably still is in his 30s.
He was in his 30s. That's your estimate of the age of my grandfather.
So here's the deal. What Houdini ended up doing was he told the world, look, don't fall for these mediums. They're is it medium or mediums? Mediums.
It sounds wrong, but it's mediums. Yeah, it sounds like you should be saying media when you're talking about one or more mediums. But that's only when you're talking about the news or arts and crafts, stuff to use for arts and crafts. When you're talking about two psychics, it would be mediums.
Yeah, medium. I haven't seen mediums in my closet since junior high school. So middle school for you kids. So what Houdini did was he told his wife, to prove that, it's bullshit. I want you to try to contact me after I die, which is something you just discussed about me, John. And the only way that you're going to be able to verify that it's actually me is if they tell you that I'm saying blank. They came up with a code word.
That's good. That's smart.
Yeah, I think it's pretty smart too. And she's still, though she's in the other world, she's still beyond. She's in beyond this realm. They still have not connected. You know what I'm saying? She kind of debunked all of these mediums. So why don't you, John, or maybe we can have the listeners do it for when I die, because it's a foregone conclusion. You're hoping sooner than later. So you can inherit this empire, this media empire that we've created.
I am your biological son. It's only fair.
Well, so we're not going to talk about that. This is not the Father's Day episode. So we need to come up with a code word. Maybe somebody can help us. Maybe we can have a temporary code word just until, we get a good one from the chats or from the comments or whatever. Any suggestions?
I have nothing right now, but I would say let's look to the chats to see what those are. And since we're live and interacting with them in real time. Oh, Brittany, that's a great idea. I like that one.
Oh, that was pretty funny, Abby.
Abby, yeah, Abby, that was filthy, Abby. You sort of disappointed me. Speaking of getting in touch with people who are not available to talk to, you can call us at 848-COMM-911. It's 848-266-6911. You can leave us a voicemail. We got a voicemail to play at the end of the show. It's gonna be a classic voicemail that's gonna rock your world. Or it's going to be a voicemail that you heard some variation of 10,000 times. If you wanted to get a hold of Drew on Instagram, you could reach out to him at What Say Drew. If you wanted to reach me, you could do that at Difficult to Look at Pictures. And of course, if you wanted to reach probably neither one of us, you could reach us at the Comm Center. on Instagram. That's something that both Drew and I run, but I log in like once per week, and then I stumble into the middle of Drew's conversations, some of which are pretty spicy and with his significant other. So I have been asking for my access to that to be removed.
Yeah, the problem is like when he logs in, unfortunately, I get booted out.
So really,
sometimes.
Oh,
So,
I should just log out forever then, because I don't.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. I need the help. But I mean, like and you're not on enough podcasts, John. Like you're not seen or heard enough.
Are you worried that like my value, whatever it is, just say X instead of like whatever, not, we don't need to actually like quantify it. Do you think that because I'm available almost everywhere and I'm almost unavoidable, that it dilutes the appeal of this show, because it's just one more show that John's on? Would it be better like if I canceled all other shows and only exclusively appeared here?
Maybe one day. Like when we hit the
like Friday, or like what do you mean?
I said my mic must have broke up. I said maybe Monday. Maybe
by Monday. I hate to give you an ultimatum, but you need to kind of wrap up every other show that you're doing. You need to have like a goodbye episode.
Just if you could get, we're trying to get things all loosey goosey in here. Look, if you think that John should quit all other podcasts other than this one, put a 1 in the chat, and then comment 1 on YouTube. And if you think he should stay where he's at, just comment 1 on YouTube or put a 1 in the chat.
The funny thing is no one will go for it, because I constantly threaten to quit all my other shows all the time. Like speaking to Felony Melanie, and we recently had Anthony Ganji on Hard Time, and posted about it. And she said she was listening to it. I'm like, I hope you enjoy Anthony Ganji, because he'll be taking over for me from episode 52 onward. She goes, what? And she just completely like loses it. I'm just like, oh yeah, it would be horrible if you could only hear me on 3 shows a week. Are you kidding me right now? So I constantly do that to people, constantly am messing with them, pulling at their heartstrings.
You know what? Come to think of it, John, the sheriff's office concept that you just spoke of, that is in fiction.
Sovereign sheriff's office, yeah.
Yeah, this is the sovereign sheriff's office. We could have our own jail, Tier Talk. We could have our own like Comm Center, the Comm Center. You know what I'm saying? Like we actually have the qualifications.
We could establish a whole sheriff's office.
Right.
You're right, but my jail show is called Hard Time, not Tier Talk. It's Hard Time.
No, I realize that. I was talking about the better of the podcast.
Oh,
the better of the corrections podcast.
You'd think I'd get mad, but I said on Hard Time that Tier Talk was a better podcast. So you always beat your critics to the punch. That's how you can. That's how you could go through this life numb. There is one last fun thing that I want to do before I begin the interview of you. And this past weekend, DEWEY, our producer, for those of you who don't know, we have a professional producer named DEWEY. He's the one who makes the show a lot better. He actually got to meet Will Smith this past weekend, and
amazing.
I wanted to bring him on just to hear the story of that, because that's kind of positive, uplifting. So DEWEY, go ahead and jump on in.
DEWEY, it's on you. It's an amazing story. Come on, DEWEY.
You're the producer. You not being able to jump in is kind of a bad look for you, bud. Okay,
where's he at?
We'll give him a few minutes. He's working on his microphone, everybody. We'll go ahead and start the interview. But to be honest, like I mean, if he doesn't jump in, I'll just tell the story and pretend that it was me meeting Will Smith, because that was a fucking amazing story. Drew, I'm going to give you several open-ended questions. Some of these are false dichotomies in which you must choose between 2 bad choices.
My favorite.
I just want to see how you respond, because as a detective, I think you often had to choose between 2 bad things, like let a criminal go free or violate his constitutional rights. Like if your life was Law and Order, it would do that every single week. So
yeah.
And again, folks, this is just to waste time until DEWEY could fucking figure his shit out. All right, Drew. How would you prefer to be woken up? With a gentle tap on the bottom of your foot, or a full speed karate chop to the throat?
Are you asking how I'm awakened?
Yeah.
Because those are the 2 options.
That's your false dichotomy. You can only get 2 of those.
And you say to the throat?
Yeah. I mean, that's gonna wake you up really good, and you're gonna have like a zest for the morning.
My feet are very ticklish.
Yeah.
Those who subscribe to my OnlyFans know that my feet are very Hobbit-like, and they're very ticklish. So I think that is a very cruel thing to do. I think the humane thing to do would just be to karate chop me right in the throat.
For those of you that subscribe to my OnlyFans, you will know that I have videos scolding people for taking off their socks or shoes at any time because
Put your shoes.
it is
back
honestly
up.
my most serious quibble with Earth is that anyone ever appears barefoot at any time. I did a whole thing on this on True Crime, but like the beach is unacceptable. All those people walking around, I think it's awful. I have to turn off the light in the bathroom when I shower. It's just it's awful. So I get on OnlyFans and I log into the foot section and I just try to change the world, right? I shame people at letting them know that by creating a market for that, that they're seriously deranging and ruining the substance of the universe. Dewey, are you here yet? For the love of God, we're talking about feet. He's not here yet. I can't hear him. All right, Drew, we'll just keep going.
Okay.
Here's a more seriouser joke, although I'm not sure where you'll go with it. More seriouser question. Which job has more prestige? A city police officer or a county sheriff's deputy?
Oh, please. Next question. I think we know the answer to that. And it is definitely one or the other. But I will say this. Both have their advantages. And both have their disadvantages. Sheriff's office employees, sheriff's deputies are at the mercy of a sheriff who is an elected official. Therefore, they are unable to piss the public off. It just doesn't work that way. City officials, however, are handed, once you swear in as a city police officer, you are handed your badge. You're given a code of probably traffic violations. And then they remove all of your, I don't want to say empathy and compassion. I mean, not all of it. And for stupid people especially. So if you're a city police officer and somebody is like, quote, acting stupid or whatever, it is in your bylaws that you have to tell them that they're stupid. Then you have to do a video about it and put it on YouTube and all that. And
which one's more prestigious?
Well, so I'm getting to that. Oh. So the thing is, what that does is it causes the very same people to run to the deputy sheriff and say, that officer over there told me I was an effing idiot. And I think to myself, well, you probably are, but I've got no choice here because if I don't help you, you are definitely going to subtract one vote from my sheriff. And if my sheriff finds out, then he will fire me. So I would say that the prestige comes with having to take the high road constantly. And I'll go with the deputy sheriff on this one.
I really meant more like in a fashion sense. In Florida, don't they all have to wear like green and gold as a sheriff's deputy?
Yeah, police departments hands down.
Yeah, they always look
definitely
sharper.
more prestigious. Yeah.
Also, like nobody becomes a cop to like serve papers, right?
Right. Civil process is definitely the ugly, the seedy underworld.
What's the ugly side of being a city cop? Because they don't have like civil shit to do.
They don't. The ugly side of being a city cop is just the anger that you have to endure. You have to sit in your own like anger. It's basically like a puppy who has defecated all over its cage. You have to sit in it until somebody comes home and changes.
Did you get an allowance as a kid?
Sometimes actually.
Was it like contingent to chores or just because your parents loved you? Or
actually, my parents definitely loved me, but it was, and I hate to rub it in, John. I mean,
everyone knows my parents didn't love me,
but it was kind of based on chores. Yes, I mean, there's plenty of chores to go around in Western New York. There's a lot of shoveling. Even in July, there's shoveling. So, I mean, there's just a lot of stuff to do. Generally, I mean, as far back as I can remember, actually, though, I generated my own income by working, as a paper boy. I had a paper route.
When he says paper boy, that's just because OnlyFans used to have a hard copy only edition that he used to deliver to his
extra, right?
extra boys' feet edition. Jesus. About chores though, like do you think like making them the pay contingent to chores teaches them the value of having a job, or does it spoil them? Because it's like the whole point of having children is to do your labor, like around your farm or whatever. Like what do you feel like kids should that's good to make them work for their money, or do you feel like that like you're skipping out on your own free labor, like you're gypping yourself? You're making yourself a chump by paying kids to do things when they're for free.
Yeah, but okay, this is a very interesting thing because I'm going through all of this right now as a parent. And also, I'm going through this as the shady characters that knocked on my door yesterday that wanted to trim the 3 trees out in front of my house. Like, I paid them. It was basically an allowance to do chores. Yes or no? The adult version. So
how did it go?
Well, I'm not. I was only. They only attempted to stab me before stealing the money.
To say I'm not at liberty to discuss my trimmed trees, John. You have to. That's our bonus content that'll be coming out on Wednesdays, as you can find out about Drew's life.
It's also on my OnlyFans.
It's also on, which is still in hard copy, in case you wanted to subscribe to that.
It's on Blu-ray.
Dewey, are you able to jump in there? I do want to get your story about beating Will Smith this past weekend.
This weekend meant Will Smith.
It looks like he's still not able to jump in. Dewey, you're the producer. You have a microphone. We heard you before the show, so it's weird that we're not able to hear you. I want to hear that Will Smith story. This is literally the biggest flapjack of all time, waiting to hear this story. So
it's rude that he's not.
Very, very rude to the fans. It's rude to me. I am livid. Drew, what would you rather see fully legalized? Marijuana or raw milk?
Oof. Raw milk, without pasteurization, I think that we'd be setting ourselves up. The devil's lettuce is definitely, there are addictive qualities in that. There are also some passive qualities in dealing with trauma and such on the serious tip. Raw milk, though, that could be, well, I mean, if marijuana is the devil's lettuce, raw milk would be what Jesus's Kool-Aid, I guess.
I mean, that tracks.
Yeah, and I just don't know what they're feeding the cows is the problem. So, and you seem to have you're very anti-Wisconsin, and I get it.
Well, we don't need to bring Wisconsin into it with any kind of thoughtful or reasonable discussion of milk, because none of it comes from there. So, not one drop, Melanie.
There's not even a homogenization process.
I like my milk heterogeneous,
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
They should just let them get married. I'm against it, but really,
I'm against it, but someday I'll be for it, so whatever's the most convenient thing.
Right.
Drew, was COVID-19 the filthy revenge promised by ousted Papa John's founder John Schnatter?
Yes, it was. So was COVID-20.
That's what I thought too, because he's on the news and he's all sweaty. He goes like, "I'm gonna get all of you guys."
Yeah,
I'm gonna
he
get
was
all
like,
of you.
He's literally like, I was just repeating what somebody else said.
And then he's on 60 Minutes, and then so the interviewer is like, this is my one chance to be a journalist for real. Like, I'm not interviewing like Joe Biden. I'm interviewing John Schnatter, so I'm going to hold his feet to the fire. He's just like, "What is your revenge? Is there a reason why you can't say right now? What is that?" And John Schnatter's just like, "Just wait, baby." And they go like, "Why should we wait?" And it was actually like a great interview. Go watch that Papa John's founder John Schnatter.
I will. I want to. I'm sure he's like in the back of his mind, he's thinking, I gave these people fresh ingredients.
Gave them better pizza.
I gave them better pizza. I had the Manning brothers involved.
Yeah, it was
Shaquille O'Neal probably.
What is your favorite pizza to just?
I am a hometown pizza guy. Like I truly am always on the. There's a place like a couple of miles from me called Capri Pizza that I use. I've got kids here, so they're all about Papa John's.
Yeah.
I grew up in Western New York. Again, I'm saying this, from the bottom of my heart. Like
he's also doing it to dox himself in the past in case time travel.
Right. So you don't find my old address, but at 24th and Whitney. So, but the thing is, there's quality pizza all over. Like, how dare you? It's a city of Italians, essentially. It's Italians, Polish, like, it's a New York melting pot, basically. But how dare you eat commercial pizza when you've got a bunch of pizzerias that you can choose from? And I kind of feel that way here. Like, you don't get the same quality, even if they are fresh ingredients.
Yeah. Now I know that DEWEY likes to go to a local place that right around from the corner from where he lives. DEWEY, are you there? Did you want to talk about how like sometimes you and your significant other walk over to the place over there? Like
here he is. Oh
no, he's not there.
DEWEY?
You and I literally went there last summer. Do you remember after I moved out? You and I went over there and they have that beer vending machine where you just pop in a quarter and a $5 beer comes out. It's amazing.
It's like a John Cougar Mellencamp video.
It's like and they got arcade games there. I guess
I love it.
He's still working on it. He's furiously working on cords, I guess. It's some sort of hardware issue. Drew, that's
annoying.
Yes, it's annoying when you have and it's also annoying when you have to like produce a interesting podcast and your whole beginning is not happening. Which of these statements is true? Because you're a jet setter. A, it is best to be first to board the plane, so you're not climbing all over people and struggling to store your luggage. Or B, it is best to be last to board the plane to minimize the amount of time you're on the plane.
Well, fully knowing I am a jet setter via train. You know that I
jet train, yes.
Yes,
world's most dangerous trains.
You know that I travel via rail mostly. I've got to say, getting on the plane first is my utmost priority. I usually pay a lot extra to do so.
Yeah,
because here's the problem,
first
John.
Class, Drew. Can you believe that?
I have. The thing is,
just reminded me. Oh yeah, I have.
Right.
I don't even know why I do a podcast with some coach chump.
In fact, your parents and I sat up in first class and talked about you.
My parents are not first class people. That's the least believable thing I've ever heard you say.
John, you know this as well as I do because of your stature. I am a 6'4" fella, so walking down the aisle is not a picnic. I don't want to walk too far down the aisle, maybe 4 or 5 seats in max. And I know that you feel the pain of having to crawl over people. So being last in the plane is I do understand you're minimizing your time on the plane, but most of the time spent like idling is like on the taxiway or on the runway. So you would be on the plane anyway.
Yeah. Folks, you have to understand, first of all, I live on the fucking moon. So like for me to get at an airport, I like literally have to get into a crop duster, which flies beside a regional airplane at like low altitude. And I have to walk across the wings and get into the regional flight to board.
It's a boat to boat situation.
It's a boat to boat situation in the fucking air. Like I have scarf and goggles and the whole thing. And, but when I get over to the regional airplane, it's still so small that I cannot stand up inside. And it's like, I feel like I'm flying around in like a little Tylenol casket thing. It's ridiculous. I hate flying on those tiny airplanes. And then of course, I'm not afraid to fly, but because I always have to take these smaller planes. You know, I always see some guy like on the tarmac, like pulling the ripcord to get the engine started or something. Or there's a little kid nearby who's got like a remote control. I just wonder like who's really flying the plane. DEWEY, are you there yet? For the love of God, man. All right, he's not there. All right, just a couple left, and then I guess we'll just do the case. Haunted house or haunted hayride, Drew?
Oh, haunted hayride all day. Like when they come out and scare you, haunted hayride. I don't like getting dirty. I know that's hard to imagine. I don't like getting dirty like you don't like feet. You know what I'm saying? So I understand that you're wanting to impose rules on people that are at the beach that they should leave some type of footwear on. You know, I'm more of a like so it would kind of almost, you know, go counter to my opinion of hayride versus haunted house. You can see the hay and brush it off afterwards. You can never get like the dirty ESP stuff off of your, you know what I'm saying? You can never get the dirty psychic stuff off of your because you can't see it. It's actually medium dust. You can never get that off.
I like the hayride because like there's always a potential for either situation that you're not scared, but at least in the hayride, like you've actually paid to go somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you could go through a haunted house and then at the end you're like, well, I'm not scared. I'm in the same place. Like at least the hayride's taking you like to the other end of the carnival or something. Somebody's
hand and sickle created that vehicle for you. You know what I'm saying?
Dewey, are you coming on? Dewey? No, he's not here yet. Sorry, I thought I heard a crackle in my ear. And I didn't. All right.
Okay.
Drew, what's your perfect bedtime snack?
It used to be Chateaubriand. It is now.
That's a beer for everyone listening.
Yes. 25%. Actually, 106% alcohol by volume. You actually owe it alcohol at the end.
It actually sobers you up.
Yeah. It evaporates so quickly.
Beer, then you drink that, and it actually subtracts.
Right. And then it actually pays you somehow. I think my current favorite, there's always a charcuterie board laying around the bedroom.
That's very strange, and I wish I had known about that to start the interview.
Well, come on, man. It's in the kitchenette of the bedroom. So,
sorry, I don't know.
Yeah, look, I'm not weird.
I thought it was like another page in OnlyFans. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say that or just some very simple dried apricots.
We're going to do charcuterie accoutrement on the next open-ended Drew episode, in case Dewey never gets this thing fixed.
John's going to construct a charcuterie
last question,
board.
because we actually do have a case to do today, and apparently, we'll give Dewey like 2 more minutes. Dewey, this is your notice. Drew, who do you think is a happier man, you or me?
Outward or inward? Oh, that just made my decision right there. It's obviously you. I'm just too sad to even discuss it.
It was kind of a heavy question, like a real question that like harkens to the core. Dewey? All right. Last question, Drew. My grandfather could not eat Belgian waffles because it reminded him of the casualties suffered by Allied forces during Operation Market Garden in World War II.
Yes.
Really more of a statement.
I was going to say, that's the same reason I can't eat French fries. Yeah. That's why I still call them freedom fries.
I call them freedom fries as well. See, every once in a while, Drew, you and I have like this weird, this goes back to the Mulder and Scully action figure thing.
Yeah, kismet. So, so please don't tell me that I'm the happier one.
All right, Drew, Dewey, last chance to defend Wisconsin. Nothing. All right.
Coming down at 3.
Is he even here? Can you throw up a banner or something to indicate that you can still hear? He's gone. He's out of the building. All right. He probably left. He probably
hopefully he hasn't fallen ill.
Hopefully. All right, folks, we're going to talk to you about a case because that's what this show actually is. It's not just sitting around wasting time for no reason. We're going to talk about a case out of Lansing, Michigan, which is the capital of Michigan. This took place on December 1st, 2023. I like this case because it was something I mentioned a couple weeks ago. I don't want to ruin too much because I also like the other case from a completely different set of weeks ago where we just react to things without knowing what was going on, and that was kind of fun.
That's kind of what I'm doing.
So Drew has not seen this video. It's going to contain 911 calls, as always, and it's going to contain body cam footage. I'm going to go ahead and start this, Drew, if you're ready.
Yeah, go for it.
Dewey? Nowhere. Okay. Here we go.
911, what is the location of your emergency?
Massachusetts Avenue.
Massachusetts Avenue?
Yes, Lansing, Michigan.
Perfect, and then your name?
Redacted.
Can you tell me exactly what happened?
My husband's really drunk, and he just slapped me across my face, and he's just really super drunk, and he's getting violent.
Okay, did he have any weapons on him?
He did, but he threw it in the car, so I have it.
What did he use or have?
He has a gun.
All right, so Drew, you're responding to the scene. You've been told, possible intoxicated person, possible domestic violence call. If she's been slapped, that is simple assault domestic. I'm sure Florida has its own designation for that statute. But so you're going to what is statistically one of the more dangerous calls for a police officer to respond to. You're going to probably be going with a cover unit.
No, domestic violence, right?
Yeah. You're going to go to a cover unit. This guy's got a firearm. Obviously, that increases the sense of danger here. She says that she got the firearm away from it. Are you assuaged by that? Are you still set at 11, knowing that you're going to a domestic with a gun, or what's your feeling going into that?
Yeah, a lot can happen in between the time that you that the call gets put in CAD and the time the officer arrives. I mean, there's a gun, obviously. There's an agitated, drunk guy. There's a vehicle involved somewhere, and he could storm the Bastille and reclaim his firearm at any point.
Bastille Day is July 14th. It's
Yes,
the French
it is.
Independence Day. Congratulations, Drew. Another reason why you and I are meant to be together.
Right.
Another 911 call. Here we go. From the neighbor.
Ingham County 911, what's the location of your emergency?
I'm at Massachusetts.
You said Massachusetts?
Yes.
And what'd you hear?
I hear a gunshot and I hear a female crying and screaming. I hear crying and screaming.
How many gunshots did you hear?
One.
Massachusetts, additional units in command for information. Massachusetts, have another caller who said they heard a single gunshot and now hear a female crying.
In the front room by the door, and I hear a female crying, the neighbors, and he just came out like 10 minutes ago and he was going crazy about his baby mama, female, whoever. And then I hear her crying and screaming. So I don't know what's going on. I need to get over here, but I got my door closed because it's outside now. I don't know.
Are they all outside?
No. She outside too? She shot? Yeah, he shot her. I said he shot her. I'm by the front door, but my son was in the bathroom. She's saying that he shot her.
Priority update. Sounds like the female has been shot. This is going to be a confirmed shooting. We'll get LFD en route.
What do you see? What do you see?
I don't see shit. I got my door closed. I don't want to get shot.
All right, Drew, things have really escalated there. It looks like a single gunshot has been fired. The female was overheard by a neighbor screaming. The neighbor's close enough that she can actually hear the substance of their entire argument out there in the driveway, that they're arguing about, familial problems, which is, usually the reason why these things get heated. As you're responding to the scene, Drew, now you know that there's at least one casualty, at least one female shot. How does this change your whole approach?
We got to get there and save the victim. We got to make sure that she doesn't get shot again. I mean, she's the one calling saying, I got the gun away from him. Now she's saying, now there's a second report that is saying, there's a second report saying she's been shot. So obviously he has reclaimed his firearm, or, maybe there's just something more to it than that. But the brutally honest neighbor who said, I ain't looking out there, I'm not getting shot, has reported that she can hear crying, which is, what we have to go off of. We have to go off of the fact that there was a guy, quote, raising Cain or whatever she said, raising hell, and about his family. And then there was a gunshot, and then there was a female crying. So there could be a few scenarios such as she shot him, or, but let's just see what happens.
Okay. As a 911 dispatcher, I'm talking to this person, and I have mixed feelings because the 911 dispatcher is trying to pump this person, right? Like right now, they seem to be the best source of information. We already talked to this female 911, female domestic violence suspect, says she was slapped, that she got the gun away. But that phone call is over. We're not getting more updates. You probably heard the dispatcher give a broadcast over the air. The beeping tones were emitted because that's an annoying sound for a podcast. But while they're taking the second 911 phone call from the neighbor, a dispatcher is broadcasting updates to the units who are flying there with lights and sirens. Drew, you know that the firearm's been discharged. You've got a person crying. You believe at least one person. The dispatcher said a confirmed gunshot wound. You're getting out of there. I mean, your gun's already unclipped from its holster before you're even out of the car. You're going to be up there hard charging.
Definitely
any special weapons or tactics that you might use, since there's probably going to be more than one of you before you approach the scene?
No, it's going to be an approach with caution anyway, but I was never a rifle guy. I'm not anti-rifle, but I was never a rifle guy. So yeah, you're right. My gun's probably out. My handgun is probably out as I approach. And I'm obviously, surveying the scene, trying to find, even if you have to follow the trail of blood, but you're not going to just run in blindly unless, especially if she's saying the victim's on the outside. So,
right. What's your number one priority right now? The victim who could be bleeding out, could have a serious wound that, she could expire at any time, the apprehension of the suspect, or what is it that's your primary thought as you engage the scene?
Well, we want to get them to safety, but we also want to secure that firearm. We don't want any more. I mean, you got to stop the shooting also, but you need to balance that with saving the victim. You want to make sure that we're saving the victim from further violence, first of all, but second of all, you got to treat the acute injury. But then on top of that, like you've got to just make sure that
if I understood you, both are extremely top priority, and you just do whatever you can do as soon as you can get there. But obviously, it doesn't do you any good to rescue anyone if you get shot. So I would say gun high number one, and then rescue domestic violence victim like at 1.1 maybe before you even get to it too.
Yeah, pretty close tie.
Pretty close tie. Here's something else to think of as a 911 dispatcher. You got a man and a woman here. Domestic violence. You always want to know who else is in the house, right? Do we have kids here? It's becoming more and more prevalent. I encourage you guys, if you haven't done this, I'd have to do a lot of research for other shows that I'm on. But like family annihilation is a thing. Like fathers will shoot their wives, shoot their families, sometimes even their pets before they do themselves. And it's one of the saddest crimes that exists out there. And if you've got a police officer going to the scene of a domestic violence shooting, there's always an outlying chance, and you have to be prepared for those outliers, that what you're actually heading into is an active shooting situation, right? Where, we have at least one down at this point, potentially others, but we don't have complete information. Drew, as a police officer, has got to do the best he can. He's driving. He's not reading his CAD notes. He's just getting those broadcasts from the air. But he's got to jump out of his car with a gun like a total badass to go in there and save the day and do everything in the correct order, not get himself or his partners killed. It's completely complex, and it's tough. And it's a call that no one really wants to respond to. It's also a situation that has set up some of our most controversial use of force cases in this country, particularly in the last 4 years, where police officers are having to respond to a scene. They're being called to respond to a terrible and dangerous situation with limited amounts of information. They have to protect everyone's rights, protect everyone's safety, and enforce the law all at once. And they're doing this with a gun in their hand, no information, in the dark, usually with information that we're trying to get from dispatchers. And to wrap up that final point, your best source of information at this point doesn't want to look out the window because she doesn't want to get shot.
That's right.
And part of me it wants to be like, come on, just take a glance. But at the same time, I've talked about this before, like liabilities in our own dispatcher. You have to constantly tell people not to put themselves in danger, whether they're just following someone on the interstate and they want to get a license plate of someone who merged rudely or something. That might or might not be a true story.
Yeah.
They're always trying to do that. So you have to remind them not to put themselves in danger. So
not always, but yeah. Because in this case, it's very clear cut. She's like, I ain't going out. I'm not stupid. I'm not going out there.
Right. This is not a marginal situation.
Yeah.
You would not tell someone to look at the window, but part of you wants to.
Yeah, of course.
Want to get that information. But here, your 911 caller, you're talking to someone with some sense who says, I ain't looking out there. I ain't getting shot. You really don't want another victim. So as frustrating as it is for a 911 dispatcher to get the best information possible to the police officers, the neighbors taking cover is really the best thing you can do.
John, do you feel that there is a scale of willing to cooperate and being smart, and then somewhere in the middle is what we're looking for?
I actually think it's a full 3-dimensional matrix, because there's also, because self-image comes into it. So often people will call and they want to be a hero. Someone will call in and they'll tell you the details of someone who's in need, but they're not putting themselves at any kind of risk, even in a low risk situation. And then as soon as you have the actionable information to start working on it, they'll tell you why. I'm a mandatory reporter. I I'm an Eagle Scout, and all of a sudden it's just like they want to take a moment to like be on par with like the quote unquote real heroes, and it's like I don't have time for that. So you're getting a mix of intelligence, situational awareness, and self-image sometimes in callers, and I hate to say this, but it's like many 911 calls. And I don't know. I could be an outlier 911 dispatcher. Maybe I'm not representative of all 911 dispatchers. So I say this, but it's like, man, what a psychological head trip that was. Why did they call? Why did they respond that way? You know, who the hell knows? But officers are now going to respond to the scene. We're going to go to the body cam footage. So Drew, this is kind of where you do your best work. So we're going to go ahead and go to that. These are body cam footage of 2 officers responding to the driveway.
34 go.
Was that supposed to be in the driveway?
As far as we know, she was out front in a white vehicle, but we don't know her current location.
Screaming.
What is the location of your emergency?
Oh, we got a third call.
Oh, no.
Officers are charging up. Officers just jumped out of the car. What we just saw was 2 police officers getting out of the car. It's a cold, rainy night in Lansing. They get out of the car. At least one officer has a rifle in his hand. They get out of the car. They can hear screaming, which of course, Drew, pretty much means you're good to go and charge in that situation. It's in the driveway. You've got no issues about curtilage or privacy. We've got an emergency situation. Someone's calling for help. We're going to go in there hard charging, particularly with what we know with the victim. But now we've got a third 911 call from children inside the residence. This is coming in right as the police officers are going up the driveway, and it's going to change the color of everything that happens, but not necessarily the outcome, as we'll discuss.
Massachusetts Avenue. No, this is her daughter.
What's going on? Is she hurt?
Yes, my stepdad slapped her. We can hear him.
Did you shoot her?
No, but he shot a gun to scare her.
Hey!
Okay, so the call comes in from inside the house. Children are saying, the 911 dispatcher is ready to respond with full empathy to a gunshot mom and kids there. And the dispatcher says, "Is your mom hurt?" And the kid's crying, and she says, "Yes, she was slapped," which is serious. But we have been operating the entire time as though this woman has been shot with a gun. We've been responding, and Drew, you can comment on this probably more quickly than me, but it wouldn't have changed any of our response because a firearm is definitely involved. A firearm has been discharged, but now we know police officers it's too late to update them on what's going on with this victim, but she hasn't been shot. Drew, what were your thoughts as soon as you realized, in retrospect only, that no one has been shot so far?
Well, my first thought was a Cold Rainy Night in Lansing is my favorite Van Morrison song. The second thing I thought of was, when you hear the kid talking, I don't know how quickly that information is going to be conveyed. You got the officer running up to the scene. The kid may not know there's a gun involved in this either. So the kid's like, no, I don't know where you guys are talking about a gun. She was slapped. And then, of course, the officer runs up there, and the guy had a gun the whole time.
Yeah.
I think
the kid says the gun was fired to scare her.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yep. I do remember him saying that. But yeah, well, the other thing too is, John, gunshots don't look like they do in the movies. So, if a kid sees his mom getting shot, he may not know she's actually shot.
You make a good point. The kid's saying that no one is shot. It's possible that the kid doesn't know. And what you're adding is probably what all the dispatchers are feeling. What the fuck is going on? Is somebody shot or not? Because
right.
we've been told by a neighbor that a shot was fired. A woman started crying. You heard the dispatcher say confirmed gunshot. Now we have a kid who's at the scene who may be in full view. Right, the neighbor's cowering under the window or in the basement or something, but definitely not face to face. The kid says the gun was fired in order to scare her, and that so far her most grievous injury is being slapped in the face, which I'm not minimizing, but I'm just saying, like, that's not necessarily something that we need a full advanced life support trauma helicopter ride necessarily for. It changes the medical outcome, right? We already heard the dispatcher say that we're putting an ambulance on standby. Ambulance is going to come anyway for a simple assault domestic just to assess the victim. But any EMT, any paramedic's going to tell you a GSW and a slap, they're leagues apart, right? That completely changes the entire situation.
You don't need a tourniquet for us.
You do not need a tourniquet. So now we got police officers charging up the scene. Drew, there's no more 911 calls from here on out. It really is body cam footage.
Okay.
I'm going to let you analyze from here.
Show me your hand! Show me your hand! Show me your hand! Get on the ground! Get on the ground now! Get on the ground or I will shoot you! Get on the ground now! Get on the ground! On the ground now!
Whoa!
Here's where the suspect is shot. You can see he reaches down with his right hand. There's a gun inside his belt loop on his right side. He got into a surrender position, right down on his knees, hands above his head. The cops are screaming at him. He's saying, whoa, bro. He's in a very, very surrender position. I think he's almost like saying, you guys are blowing this way out of proportion, which I say to you, you shot a gun to scare somebody. You thought that you could be like a cowboy in a movie and fire off a warning shot to get your woman to comply with your needs. And you think two police officers are not going to come running at you with rifles. Now, this is where it all goes horribly wrong. And there's no way to change society or educate people on this, right? Because the right move in this situation is to get on your knees or lay on your stomach or follow whatever commands, but do not reach for that gun. My feeling in this moment, Drew, is this guy is because he believes his life is a movie where he could fire off a shot in a neighborhood near his wife, probably gave her like ear damage or something, let alone himself, and scaring the kids and the neighbors. And he just thinks no police action is going to come out of this for whatever reason. He thinks he's going to pick up that pistol or that revolver with his thumb and forefinger by the very bit of the handle and throw it off in a surrenderous move and not get shot, because that's how it is in the movies, right? The one hand is up, they reach down, they pick it up with the thumb and forefinger by the barrel or the end of the handle, and they throw it off. They throw it far away, and they're taken safely into custody. False. Look into the car. This guy's kneeling by the open driver's side door of a car. We've got a victim right there. We don't know if she's been shot or not. We've gotten conflicting reports. He's reaching down. He's got a pistol in his waistband, and he's not complying, because I'm sure the police officers are not telling him, reach down for the gun in your waistband.
Yeah.
We don't have footage of him being blown to hell, but that is exactly what has just happened to him. He has just been shot. Lansing police officers, we have two 4-year officers responding to this. After he shot, we could see the pistol there. It's some matter on the car that's being blurred out. The pistol is still in the driveway, so we for sure know that he had one. Of course, the report of the pistol is there. Officers here are beginning a CPR to save his life. And of course, I don't know if you know this out there, civilians, CPR and trauma just generally don't mix. When you've got a hole in your circulatory system because you've been pierced by a bullet, doing CPR,
you're literally pumping blood.
You're really pumping blood out through the hole in the system. So
hey, John, so was that like, I was looking at a very small screen, but is that the only gun, or was there a gun in his waistband and a gun he used to scare her?
So far as I know, it's the only pistol. The chief of police of Lansing narrates the video, and he says that a pistol was found at the scene. I'm not sure if that pistol that you saw was after they went over, secured the suspect, maybe moved the pistol away from him so they could start doing CPR. Drew, you would know better than me if you're going to take somebody who's shot and you're securing the pistol. Where are you putting that? Are you kicking it across the room, cowboy style? Are you locking it in your car right away? Are you tucking it into your jacket? Are you going to look at it and bother the 911 dispatcher by running the serial number on it to see if it's an NCIC weapon? What's your first move?
That is completely case by case, because if it's a homicide, the guy's dead right there, and no one else is near it, this scene's going to be cordoned off anyway, and no one's going to be able to get in, and no one's going to be able to get to the gun except for the dead man, and dead men tell no secrets. So we'd probably want to leave it just for proximity's sake. If not anything, snap a couple photos real quick and grab it and secure it. Just in case there's people, cats walking through there or something that might, take a hold of it. But you're either going to leave it, I mean, this sounds like I'm being contradictory. You're either going to leave it or you're going to pick it up and secure it and stick it in your trunk.
Situation. The female victim was not shot.
Okay.
So he literally did just fire off a round just to scare her, and unfortunately, because of his thoughtless and reckless behavior, and frankly his abusiveness, because slapping a woman and shooting a gun to scare her is pretty much beyond the pale. Well, at that point, you're trying to enforce your will on a woman who by all rights should not be with you. But you've ratcheted up a situation in which now you have made yourself susceptible to deadly force by police officers.
No, well, there's a couple of justifications right there. If you look at the video again, you'll see that he is on his knees and he's reaching with his right hand into his waistband, and his left hand is almost at the victim, which would to me indicate, okay, if the guy's 6 feet, that means he's only 3 feet away because his arm is probably 2.5 feet or whatever. So he's 3 feet away from this victim, at which point he could easily take the gun out and not even point it at the officers, but just load 2 or 3 rounds into her before they, obviously they're going to have time to react. He's not going to die immediately though, so he could still get the rounds off. He still could take the gun out and point it at them, or he could, shoot himself. Who cares? Kind of. But the thing is, once you put your hand on that gun, like it's all bets are off. It's the imminent threat of death or great bodily harm to yourself or somebody else, and you have the imminent threat of death to yourself or somebody else, and you have the imminent threat of great bodily harm to yourself or somebody. Like you have all 4.
He's very, very well covered. I believe it'll turn out to be a justified shooting. Of course, it's still under investigation for probably the next 3 years. Yeah,
and they're going to wonder if they're going to be charged over it and everything. But the thing is, I do understand too that just the same, like officers are trained in that, civilians aren't. So when they see a cops running at them and they know they got a gun on them, maybe their inclination is to grab the gun and just throw it out to kind of show them like. But that's the worst reaction you can have. Once you put your hand on that gun, you've taken the guesswork out of what's going to happen next. I think that's what happened to Tamir Rice too. I think he was trying to, in his 9-year-old brain, he was trying to comply with. I get it. I do get it, but you can't. That's a gamble you're not going to risk. It's a gamble you're not going to take, and it's not because they celebrate shooting people or whatever. It's because the inverse. It's because that if you give them that extra step, there's no sense in waiting around to see what's going to happen. It's going to be tragedy, one side or the other, and this is a kill or be killed situation, unfortunately. I like the comparison to Tamir Rice because there was so much outrage over that case, right? A little kid gets shot by a police officer because he was playing with a fake gun. This is a grown man playing with a real gun, yes. Right? He's one of these guys where he thinks he could take it out, cock the hammer, work the action, use the weapon for intimidation purposes, which is not what a gun is for, to get his significant other to comply. But this is it sounds cheesy or stupid, but like this is the message. You cannot count on a police officer to not shoot you in a scene where you're being felony arrested while you're armed. Well, you have to not play with guns. That's literally the message we have to give to kids and to adults alike. That if you take that gun out and you think that you're gonna use it for some other purpose than killing someone, whether you're playing at the park or you're cajoling your woman to respond to you, you're going to get yourself shot. Police officers don't have time to respond in that moment. And if you go back and watch that, Drew, which you don't need to do, but he goes, hey, bro, like, when you're a police officer, Drew, and you're charging at the scene, you're probably taking no note over the tone of his voice, his disposition, other signs of surrender other than his body posture. But it just struck me that in that situation that as he's giving himself up in the driveway, that he thinks that like this entire situation is way overblown. Yeah, actions, so they say actions speak louder than words, but even though it's a split second thing as a police officer, you're pointing a gun at somebody, you have to evaluate the actions and the words, but the words, the actions way outweigh the words in this situation. The minute he touches that, it's done. And you got to react as if So even if he says like, look, I'm a peace loving, like I raise puppies, like it doesn't matter what he's saying at that point. The fact is he's going to grab the gun, and it could be his panic, and it could be very unfortunate, but also I think, towards the argument, and we've had the priming episode already. We'll have another one, I'm sure. The officer is primed that this guy's already had the proclivity of shooting that firearm. It doesn't matter if he's hit her or not. That comes after. It doesn't matter if he was firing a warning shot. The inclination was for that guy to take a gun out and shoot it, just like you're saying. Just everything you're saying, to get it to either pull the hammer back or to work the action or whatever and actually fire it. That tells you he's fired it once. I'm not going to wait around for him to fire it again. And you get what you get in this situation. This is a little bit different than the Daniel Shaver incident. If you all remember that from, I think it was Mesa, Arizona, where, they were calling this kid out of the hotel room. The whole reason why the cops were there was it was right after the Route 81 festival in Las Vegas, where the guy shot from the hotel window and killed all those people. And then a couple of weeks later, here's this Daniel Shaver. He's an exterminator. He was going to go work at one of the contract work at one of the big box stores, like, Costco, Sam's, something like that, to kill some of the rats. So he has a pretty high powered BB gun. And while he was having a few drinks in his room with a guest, he sticks the rifle out the window, and the people at the pool or the people at the jacuzzi see that, and they call Mesa police and say, "Hey, there's a guy at the hotel here. He just stuck a rifle out the window." And then the whole thing just goes haywire from there. They call him out of the room and blah, blah, blah. He's only in his boxer shorts, but he makes that one false move, which, I always say was just like a deadly game of Simon Says. He made one wrong move, and they ended up shooting and killing him. It was, they were put on trial for that and blah, blah, blah. But and the merits of the shooting could be argued for days and days and days. And in fact, it was argued in a courtroom. But what brought them there? What brought them there was his stupid activities. There is a gun involved, and you can't key up or amp up officers saying, there's a gun involved here, and the guy starts making false moves. We're not going to wait around. No one's going to wait around for that. These two incidents are very different in the sense that this guy in Lansing actually had a gun. That's a little bit different here, but just like Tamir Rice, just like this, if they freeze because they don't know how to act, well, you shouldn't have. It's the moral of the story, John. It's why you named the episode what you named it.
Don't play with
guns.
Like I said, unfortunately, we just have to have that message because we cannot. You and I and others have already been pleading with people, don't resist arrest and all this. It seems like most of our uses of force are being done when people are resisting arrest because there's no more respect for law enforcement. But we also get people who will have an attitude like this guy, and I'll close out to say this, he's saying, whoa, hey, bro, we also get people who say, I'm not resisting, and are still resisting. So when you watch footage like this as a civilian and you listen to his voice, his disposition is bearing, is getting to a surrender position. A police officer just is not going to take that at face value. A police officer is different. And the standard we use is what would a reasonable police officer do? What would someone with the same amount of training and experience do? These are both 4-year police officers in the city of Lansing. I'm going to call this one justified. It's unfortunate that somebody died, but this was the ultimate outcome of some very, very stupid decisions. And I'm not going to say bad decisions because it goes without saying that every stupid decision is bad, but it's stupid to take out a gun and play with it and fire a shot at somebody and not expect to get cooked shortly.
Yeah.
So don't play with guns, everyone.
When you play with fire, you get burnt.
When you play with guns, you get shot.
That tracks.
I hate to be that direct about it. We do have a voicemail. This is in reference to our last week's episode with Burnsville. We're still thinking about everybody up in Burnsville. I know a lot of law enforcement agencies are going to go out there and pay tribute up there. Still thinking about you guys. It's not one of those one and done drive-by situations. If you're in Burnsville or you're around Burnsville, the pain hasn't gone away at all. I don't know how the media is treating it after a week. I don't know if they've spun off to the next outrage. I don't know if they have made Drew a major issue out of the conservative white male who shot at police officers inside that house there. Obviously, if I can imagine the news taking the story of a conservative white male with lots of guns and ammunition in his house and really running with that. So that could, I don't watch the news enough to know if they're making a huge deal out of that. So
you can check with Ann Coulter on that one.
I'll check with Ann Coulter on that one. But because I don't want to activate you and ruin your weekend, I'm just going to go ahead and play the voicemail.
Go for it.
Hey, John and Drew, this is Jim from Florida. Just calling about the episode involving the 2 Minnesota officers and the 1 firefighter that passed away. It was a very poignant episode. Appreciate all the thought and raw emotion that was put into it. It's very important that we remember their sacrifice, even though we didn't know who they were. We just know that they were willing to step forward when others were not. Appreciate it. Keep up the good work, guys.
Jim, we appreciate it. Thank you for listening, and thanks for giving us feedback. Folks, we kind of thrive on feedback. We'd like to do more of that. So call us on the phone, 848-COMM-911. That's 848-COMM-911. That's how you reach us when we're live, but you can also leave voicemails for us in the meantime when we're not always live. We appreciate you guys. We mentioned before, you can reach us out on social media, but if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a comment below. I really like when people leave comments. Like if you're not up to calling us and leaving a voicemail, because maybe you're just not of that generation, I accept you. But leave a comment below. I check those out and I reply, and so does Drew. So if you have a message or if you have a question, concern, comment, if you have straight hatred for us and what we do, and you think that we're just covering up the lies of Sheriff Troy or another, please leave a hateful comment below. We love hate because we're like totally embroiled and ready to deal with that at any time. But we appreciate you, and we thank you for following the Comm Center. Drew, is there anything else I'm forgetting other than like and subscribe to my other podcast, Hard Time, as well? Or you have any other?
There is a super special episode coming up next week.
Oh, there's a super special. It's so super. It's so special. Not only have I not been invited, but I have not been made aware.
Yes, you have. It's definitely one. It's going to be a good one.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it, even though I have no memory of what it could possibly be about.
Hey, you guys. Sorry I had to do a full system reboot, but I am here now and cannot wait to tell you about my weekend.
Thanks for listening to the Comm Center, folks. We appreciate you. 1,000 years of Comm Center.
Eugene Marv.
Weeb Eubanks, everyone. Weeb. You remember Weeb Eubanks, right, Drew?
The basketball player. How about Goodson Todman production?
DeBrickashaw Ferguson. Do you remember DeBrickashaw?
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill. A very obscure one. Great one, Drew.
Thank you.